Hi, welcome to Living Blue. I'm Michelle Carpenter, a marine biologist, underwater guide, and sailor. I'm tuning in from Vela, a 112-foot schooner operated by the company called Seamester. For my sabbatical, I worked as an oceanography professor and crew member on board. During this time, we sailed across the Atlantic Ocean twice. We explored the sun-drenched shores of the Mediterranean and the vibrant islands of the Caribbean. In this video, I'm going to share some moments from our journey crossing the North Atlantic Ocean, from the Caribbean all the way to the Azores Islands off Portugal. During our voyage, Vela was captained by Tom Bisley with first mate Mac Labarge, who both allowed for our adventure to go smoothly. Vela is one of two boats owned by Seamester. Seamester has been training students in sailing for over 30 years and is arguably the most successful program of its kind. The students become part of the crew as fellow shipmates, and they also learn marine science, scuba diving, leadership, and more. As a schooner, Vela is equipped with 2 masts and 3 booms. Our rigging includes a total of 6 sails, these being the mainsail, main staysail, forward staysail, jib, flying jib, and our beautiful fisherman's sail, which we only fly during the most beautiful fair weather conditions. Employing old-style sailing techniques over 1,000 years old, nearly all operations are manual and without the use of winches. Taking in line to hoist the sail requires at least one person to pull the line physically to the pinrail as a sweater, and a tailor to take up and hold tension on what was pulled in by the sweater. Sweating the line requires a special dance, also referred to as the 2-6. The 2 involves pushing the line out, while the 6 is when the line is pulled down, and subsequently towards the pinrail for the tailor to take up the slack. With some good practice using the 2-6, we embarked on our first 100 nautical miles island hopping in the British Virgin Islands, also known as the BVI. As an outer western island chain in the Caribbean, this country is one of the main gateways to the Atlantic. The BVI is also part of the Caribbean's greater marine ecosystem, known for its shallow, clear, colorful reefs, teeming with fish. This includes a famous fish of the Caribbean and the Atlantic, the amazing tarpon, which were often found under our boat while we were at anchor. The tarpon reaches sizes up to 8 feet, and they weigh up to 280 pounds. This was one of the largest fish predators that we regularly observed. Another widespread predator of the Caribbean is the weirdly wonderful pelican. What makes pelicans so unique is their extendable throat pouch that they use as a dip net to catch fish. After some great days of diving and enjoying this wildlife, we then visited the baths, a site made up of granite boulders. Legend has it that pirates once used these caves and narrow crevices within the baths as a secret hideaway and smuggling route for their treasure. Indeed, the Caribbean is rich in the history of piracy, which also includes the BVI due to these islands having a strategic location and natural hideaways such as these baths. It was rumored that popular pirates such as Blackbeard and Captain Kidd used these islands as a base, and that they had hidden treasure all around these parts. After exploring the beautiful waters and the tropical paradise of the BVI, we returned to Soper's Hole Marina on Tortola Island to prepare for our Atlantic crossing. This included provisioning for a potential 3-week long passage, and the fun part of putting all this food away into storage. Mac and Tom also taught all of us on board the tasks that are part of boat checks. This is something that all 7 of us staff and all students on board regularly complete every hour during passage to ensure the machinery, operations, and sailing are going smoothly. We record the values for several parameters during these boat checks. Some of these include wind speed, boat speed, wind angle, barometric pressure, sea state, GPS position, voltage of the boat, and, if the motor is on, there is another set of measurements. Then, the day we all anticipated, we started our crossing. We said goodbye to land for the next 3 weeks. At the BVI, the trade winds blow most of the year, and these are steady winds that come from the east and blow west. They occur about 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south of the equator. So we used the trade winds to travel north in the first part of our journey, and we used what's called close-hauled point of sailing. So there's several points of sailing, and they refer to the direction a sailboat is traveling relative to the wind. So close-hauled is a point of sailing technique that involves sailing as close to the wind as possible and while maintaining full sails. So the sails are actually tightly trimmed, okay, and then they act as a wing and rely on the lift of the wind to propel the boat forward. So we rode these easterly trade winds, traveling north in some beautiful weather for our first several days. On Vela, we were cruising.
Alright, we are now day 5 into our passage from the British Virgin Islands to Azores. We've had nice easterlies of about 15-20 knots consistent, beautiful sunny weather, and we've been sailing a steady 5 to 8 knots since we left. We'll have a little bit of motoring here and there coming up. We passed over the Puerto Rican Trench, 6,500 meters, and we've got another 10 days to 2 weeks of open ocean. Our luck seems to have run out just for a little bit for a nice squall. It started off with pretty heavy winds, but now the winds have completely died down and our sails are just flapping. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to wait it out for half an hour. If the wind doesn't pick up, then we might have to turn the motors on. But yeah, the last week has been just the most perfect conditions, so once we get out of this, hopefully we'll find some more of those awesome winds to carry on further northeast towards the Azores. What to do in cold weather? Eat hot cream.
With curry that warmed us from the inside out, we stayed on deck and waited out the squall. We watched the wild energy of the ocean as the rain poured on the surface and billowed around in the shifty wind. We even had a sei whale breaching, which was magical. Squalls are a sudden shift in the weather, and they're a common occurrence on long passages out at sea. We encountered many of these squalls during night watch, and during a couple of squalls, we managed to maintain a speed of up to 9 knots, which is fast for our big steel Vela. Sail handling and the volatile headwinds were getting drenched by rain on watch. This is something that we call Type 2 fun, or as one of my best friends says, adventure tax. In the moment you may be uncomfortable or full of adrenaline, but smiling on the inside at the fact that we get to experience this. Our normal trades conditions, winds from the northeast and towards the southwest, returned. Therefore we resumed sailing close hauled. In dreamy weather, we maintained steady speeds of 5 to 7 knots. On many days during the crossing, we did reach 7 to 8 knots as well. Depending on the conditions and wind angle, we alternated between having 5 to all 6 sails up. The flying jib went up and down several times, and there were a few wonderful moments when we hoisted the fisherman's sail, which is the sail placed between the fore and main masts of the ship. Vela's sails are what make her so majestic. As we head northwards towards the Azores, we entered into the seasonal high-pressure system around latitudes of high 30s and up to 40, associated with stable, dry weather and light winds, which meant that we had to switch on the motor sometimes. Even though no sailor likes to switch on the motor, we then encountered our most magical day of the passage. One of the most surreal days on the ocean I've ever experienced. We were in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, thousands of miles from land, in the absolute middle of nowhere. The sea was glass, a mirror, something out of a dream. Honestly, it looks fake to the people that did not experience this in person. We spotted a pod of pilot whales, and their behavior was as calm as the ocean itself that day. So we launched the dinghy to take a closer look. We looked back and saw the exquisite scene of Vela and the clouds above, sitting reflection on a mirror ocean. Just vastness, space, stillness, and quiet all around us. After observing the pilot whales, we swam around Vela in a 5,000 meter deep blue ocean. With salty skin and sun to dry us, it was a very happy day indeed, an experience none of us on board will forget. The wind eventually returned and we started to sail again, going on a broad reach point of sail, which is one of the downwind positions. For the next couple of days, we continued our wonderful blue water cruising, integrated with squalls. All of us on board were able to gain practice with helming and sail handling. We encountered some sperm whales and hunting orca, which we saw clearly through the binoculars, and also false killer whales and pan-tropical dolphins that greeted the boat. More cycles of day and night watch flowed by. There's a fulfillment that only sailing can offer. Being immersed in the elements, surrounded by the most untouched wild spaces in the world, enjoying each cycle of sunrise, sunset, and stars. Land ho! The jagged peaks of the Azores Islands emerged from the horizon, their black volcanic slopes rising dramatically against the endless blue ocean. A blend of raw, volcanic power and serene beauty, a promise of adventure awaiting us ashore. In just 17 days, we crossed the Atlantic Ocean to arrive at Horta Marina and File Island. By the end of our voyage, we had reached over 5,000 nautical miles of adventure, laughs, Type 2 fun, and experiences.
So we have made it to Horta in the Azores, and we are now docked. And it was an incredible 2 and a bit weeks passage. We ended up sailing over 65% of the time, which is really good for an Atlantic crossing, and it's so good to see land and start enjoying some terrestrial amenities. Cheers!